Good afternoon, friends. Now, today we are discussing what is the difference between exempt supplies and non taxable supplies. In both the term, it looks like GST not applicable. But why there is two different terms, exempt supplies and non-taxable supplies? And what is the relevance of these two terms when we look at the definition of aggregate turnover for registration purpose? As we all know, for registration, the threshold amount of aggregate turnover more than 20 lakh rupees, then we have to take registration in the state where from we are supplying goods or services. This is 10 lakh rupees for special category state like Uttaranchal, Himachal, hilly state, northeast states like that. So it's very important that what it consists of within the definition of aggregate turnover. If you go to the definition of aggregate turnover includes taxable supplies. So first term, taxable supplies. We have to understand the meaning of taxable supplies. Then exempt supplies. So what is the meaning of exempt supplies become important. Then export of goods or services, and then interstate supplies, but not excluding CGST, SGST, UTGST, and IGST. So there are four terms in aggregate turnover: taxable supply, exempt supplies, export of goods or services, and interstate supply. So it's very important we have to differentiate what is the meaning of exempt supplies versus non-taxable supplies. Taxable supply means supply of goods or services or both which is leviable to tax under the CGST Act under section 2 subsection 108 of CGST Act 2017. Simply meaning supply of goods or services leviable to tax would be taxable supply. What about exempt supplies? Exempt supplies is being defined under section 2 subsection 47. Kindly read, you will get the clarity. Exempt supplies means supply of any goods or services or both which attracts nil rate of tax, first part, or may be wholly exempt from tax under section 11 of CGST Act or under section 6 of IGST Act and includes non-taxable supply. So there are three terms, either chargeable to nil rated or exempted under section 11 of CGST Act or section 6 of IGST Act, and third includes non-taxable supplies. So what happened? It includes non-taxable supplies even. So non-taxable supplies are included within the definition of exempt supplies. Hence, it is going to be very important. We should also understand the meaning of non-taxable supply. Non-taxable supply means a supply of goods or services or both which is not leviable to tax under the CGST Act or IGST Act as defined under section 2 subsection 78 of CGST Act 2017. And why we are discussing all this thing? We are discussing to determine the threshold amount of aggregate turnover. And aggregate turnover includes taxable supply, which is leviable to tax, and exempt supplies, which includes three items: null rated or exempted by way of exemption notification, or non-taxable supplies are also included within the definition of exempt supplies. And then export of goods or services and interstate supplies are included within the definition of aggregate turnover. Important one. Question will come to our mind. If some goods or services are not leviable to tax, non-taxable supplies, whether we have to include the value of non-taxable supplies within the definition of aggregate turnover to calculate the threshold amount of 20 lakh or 10 lakh in case of special category state. As per the definition, non-taxable supplies are included within the definition of exempt supplies, meaning thereby even the value of non-taxable supplies are included within the definition of exempt supplies and thereby included in the aggregate turnover to determine whether we have to take registration if my turnover, aggregate turnover crosses 20 lakh rupees and 10 lakh rupees for other notified special category state, which includes Uttaranchal, Himachal and Northeast state or hilly state. And what could be non-taxable goods or services? You go to section 9 subsection 1. Section 9 subsection 1 says there shall be levied a tax called CGST on intrastate supply of goods or services or both other than alcoholic liquor for human consumption. So first of all, alcoholic liquor for human consumption are taken out, not leviable to tax, non-taxable supplies. And if you go down further under chargeable section of 9 subsection 2, there are 5 specified petroleum product: petrol, diesel, crude petrol, aviation turbine fuel and natural gas that is going to levy taxes from a date to be notified. For the time being, these are kept outside the GST regime, so not leviable to tax. So these 2 specific goods are out of GST. Now question comes, if you are a taxable person in GST regime and you are engaged in supply of taxable goods and non-taxable goods, so what happened? Are you supposed to include value of non-taxable goods, maybe alcoholic liquor or specified petroleum product for arriving at 20 lakh and 10 lakh? Answer is yes, because non-taxable supplies are included within the definition of exempt supplies, and exempt supplies is a part and parcel of aggregate turnover. Aggregate turnover, as I said, includes taxable supply, exempt supplies. Exempt supplies now includes nil rated, exempted by way of exemption notification, and non-taxable supply. So what happened? Even though you are engaged in non-taxable supply included within the definition of exempt supplies, resulting therein included in the threshold amount of aggregate turnover to determine to take registration. So this 20 lakh and 10 lakh includes even non-taxable supply, and we have to take registration in the state where from we are supplying goods or services. This is what the meaning coming out. But you must be knowing compulsory registration provision under section 24 of CGST Act, wherein there is no threshold amount for reverse charge method for ISD, or you're supplying goods or services through e-commerce operator or e-commerce operator. So these are exemplary example given under section 24, wherein compulsory registration required interstate, compulsory registration required. But to take registration, aggregate turnover 20 lakh or 10 lakh in special category state, aggregate turnover will have 4 components: taxable supplies, exempt supplies, which includes even non-taxable supplies, export of goods or services, and interstate supplies, excluding CGST, SGST, UTGST, and IGST, and compensation cess. This is what the crux of this definition: exempt supplies versus non-taxable supplies. So what is the answer coming out? Even though we are engaged in supply of non-taxable goods along with the taxable goods we have to include the turnover of non-taxable goods with taxable goods to determine 20 lakh or 10 lakh rupees. One more provision under section 23 of CGST Act, it clearly says if we are exclusively engaged in supply of non-taxable goods or services or exempted goods or services, then registration is not required. But if at all you involve one person in taxable along with the non-taxable, then the registration may be required, and you have to look at your criteria of 20 lakh or 10 lakh. 10 lakh applicable for special category state, northern state, including hilly state. And in case you are engaged in interstate, then compulsory registration under section 24, then no threshold amount would be applicable. So this was the final point, an important point to determine the definition of exempt supplies versus non-taxable supplies. Hope you have liked today's presentation and you will take a clue to determine exempt supplies and non-taxable supplies in reference to taxability and registration. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much.